I'm sitting here with my friend Wendy Moniz, who happens to be a very successful actress, one of my favorites actually.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for finding your time and coming to our Beryll headquarters here. Wendy, I never asked you that question, although we know each other for some time. How did you become an actress?
I've been doing it for so long, so I have to go back. I mean, I grew up with that kind of just in me, the need to perform from a very young age. But I have to say, my mom, who passed last April, was really involved in theater in the city where I grew up in Massachusetts. And she got me and my sister into it when I was really young. And the combination of that showing it to me, you know, having it there, like going to audition in nearby cities for community theater and just always having plays around. And we had a piano and sheet music and exposing me to musicals and movies. That exposure that she offered combined with my own, you know, just born with it need to perform. That's how it came to be at a young age. And so then it never stopped. There was never anything that got in the way of that. I always had it in my life, in school and outside of school. And then I did it in college. And then there was always a natural progression. And I'm still here, somehow I'm still here doing it. But yeah, that's
Thankfully, you are here still doing it.
Yeah.
So we can.
I mean, it's a tough business to, you know, keep earning a living at, you know, in a meaningful way, keeping your foot in the door. For me, I always wanted to be a working actor. That was always my goal. I started out waiting tables, you know, and I didn't have to do that for too long, thankfully, because I started working. And to me, that's the success, being able to just, you know, continue to keep doing that. And yeah, so
for sure successful.
Thank you.
I think many of our viewers will know you from this very successful series, Yellowstone. You are the hot governor who is not only hot, but also very smart. And it's a good combination. And who also can kiss Kevin Costner.
That's right. Yes. And I start as the governor and I evolve into the senator.
Exactly.
So yes, it's all about politics you know, politics and getting to kiss your acting partner who happens to be a movie star. Yes.
Yeah. One of the top looking guys, always been. So is there any role model you had growing up where you said, oh my God, I love this actor, I love this actress, and, you know, kind of like they inspire me?
Yeah, again, like when you say that, I picture myself really young and watching Shirley Temple and Judy Garland movies, you know, musicals, Wizard of Oz, and I loved Gone with the Wind. So Vivian Leigh, and I was kind of, you know, an old soul, I guess. I remember like reading Vivian Leigh's biography when I was really young, and she was a really tortured artist, and that intrigued me, you know, just all of that. And so I was inspired by those performances. Those are the first that come to mind.
So old Hollywood in a way, no?
Old Hollywood. And again, I have books like from the golden era of Hollywood that belonged to my mom, and that she gave them to me. And I had them from a young age, and I would go through them, these black and white photos of, like the golden era. There was one year, I think it was 1939, and that was when The Wizard of Oz came out and Gone with the Wind came out and all these brilliant films. And I was obsessed with that. So yeah, the old Hollywood stuff really inspired and intrigued me.
Yeah, you are mentioning one of the most, you know, successful feature movies back in those days. I mean, Gone with the Wind, we all know, you know. How much did it change, no? That, you know, instead of these epic feature films, most people watch today, you know, serious TV shows, you know, kind of like, which, you know, I think it's very relevant for our time, you know, that we don't maybe want to spend 2.5 hours sitting. Yeah, we want to get it in shorter increments. So show. How is it with you, feature film versus TV shows? How do you feel about that? Is it both very still interesting for you?
Well, my world as an actor has always pretty much been television. I dabbled a little bit in movie stuff, but that's not where I landed, where I made my money, where I found my footing. It was always in TV. But I love going to the movies still, and, especially before COVID, I think that so much has changed with COVID, and then the strike that we had changed things about movies and going to the movies. But I love going to the movies, and I love going to the movies by myself. That experience, I think it takes me back to, that some things you just have to see on a screen in that long format. But I think that's why Yellowstone there's so many reasons why it was embraced and has become beloved, because it's just so well done. But it has that sweeping landscape of a film on television, the storytelling of it and the way that it's shot. It's very cinematic, and you can get it on your television.
So true.
So it's special for that reason. So I'm really grateful and proud to be part of something like that.
Yeah, and you should. I think it's one of those series where you really get drawn into it. You dive into it, because it's, as you said it's shot in a very particular way. What are movies, kind of like you would say are your top favorite, where you get that feel, where you picture yourself with your popcorn in a theater and just forgetting about anything but being present in this movie?
My movies that God, I mean, I have boys. I have three. I have a stepson who's older now, and I have two other boys that are teens, and so I spent a lot of time in the last 20 years going to movies with them. So the big movies, and a lot of them are like loud, Transformer, Lego movies. And those movies I kind of shut down. I can appreciate visually what they are, but they sort of shut my brain off. I like to go see, because it's too much stimulation. And I do kind of love that my kids grew up when all these Pixar movies came out. So I got to see the first great, Toy Story and Nemo and all of that. So I kind of picture that when I think about the movies with my kids. But for me, when I go alone, it's usually it's the same feeling of being excited for the movie to start, but the personal movies, little movies that, sometimes people won't, necessarily go see. They'll be at little theaters. I can't really think of any off the top of my head right now, but the idea of intimate movies about people and their relationships.
Or a very particular story where you are feeling like, wow, this is just really kind of caught me, kind of and pulls strings of your heart, we all, for me, it's always when I talk about movies, I feel like, Legends of the Fall, these epic pictures where you have a beautiful story, you have beautiful, pictures, and it all combines with the actors into something. It's like a good meal. Which has
it's funny that it's really interesting that you brought that up as an example, because Legends of the Fall was that was one of the inspirations for the creators of Yellowstone. That's what they
honestly, I can feel that, because I think it's also this, the beauty of the nature and of the land, which forms also these people living on it, bit this closeness, this connection people have with the land and vice versa. Yeah. We just did a photo shoot, a campaign shoot in Ojai, which I think it's California dreaming for me, but it's so underrated, because we always think about the coastline when we think about Southern California. And I met all these people there who are so ingrained with their land. They have been, for generations worked with the land, lived off of the land. And I think there's something very beautiful about that. It's this unapologetically being authentic. And for me, you know, I that's what I'm so curious about, because I know as an actress, you dive into different roles and you become different personalities. But watching you, I always feel like there's a very big piece of you also in there, how you interpret it. How do you dance this balance between, you know, kind of like injecting your Wendy mojo into every role?
Well, I think you're always bringing yourself, because that's your, you know, what you have to work with, your voice and your little, you know, the way that you laugh, the way that you find humor in things. So I just sort of show up with myself, and then what's written on the page is everything for an actor, you know? And so then you can find the storytelling, the nuances of the character and what's been written on the page, and try to understand them and bring how you relate to what is going on. Now, listen, I'm playing the governor and the senator, and I've never been anywhere near anything that had to do with something so important, anything with politics like that. So you just have to bring what you know, it's all about using your imagination too. I'm definitely a research person. Like, I like to have my facts about things. So I look into the background of what does that person do for a living? What does it mean to be whatever occupation maybe my character is, or struggles that they're going through. And I try to research it a bit, and then relate it to my own life. What has happened in my life? What experiences have I had that I can sort of be adjacent to this? And then your imagination marries those things together, because it's all make-believe. Just pretend that, so you have your life experience, and for me, I have my life experience, and then what I've researched and what I know, and I sort of create, you know, the pretend of it all in my mind.
Is there a particular, you know, preparation you had for the governor senator in that role where you want to share, you know, kind of like something?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, you know, researched about the role, and I learned that there was not any governor, a female governor in Montana. I don't think. I have to double check that. I remember thinking, wow, that like amazing that Taylor Sheridan is writing these strong female characters. There was never a senator, I don't think. Maybe there was one female governor, I'm not sure, but not a lot. And so, and just researched about that part of the country and all the stuff that state and what goes on in the world in that part of the country. The accuracy of it, I was like, wow, I didn't know, because I'm a city girl, grew up in the East Coast, and it's sort of like New York, Massachusetts, and California.
A little bit of LA.
That's all I really know. Yeah, the two coasts. So it was fun to educate myself about that part of the country and understand what goes on there. And then in terms of, you know, I imagine that I don't stand up straight in my life at all. I have terrible posture. So it always kind of starts with how a person stands, you know, and the clothes that they wear inform you and get you into that headspace, into character. And we have amazing, if we're talking just about, and it's true for every role that I've played, but, you know, the clothes that you wear and the shoes that you have on, it changes me, you know, and those are things that help me also.
I mean, that is, you know, coming to the next topic of, you know, style and clothing. Mm-hmm. I totally can relate to that, you know,
yeah,
how
you can.
dress makes how you feel. And I think that's a beautiful thing we have, you know, on hand, that we can change also our moods with clothes. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you would say that's kind of characterizes my own style? What would that be?
Okay. Yes. I'm very, like, on the daily, I'm very, sort of practical and utilitarian in the way that I dress. I'm kind of a boots and sneakers and comfortable jeans, cool cargo pants or cool sweatpants. I'm often wearing a baseball hat because I don't want to deal with my hair. And I like things that have a unique twist about them. I like simplicity, but with maybe like a little twist of something that's different and makes it cool. I'm not a jewelry person. I put on a few little pieces of jewelry to sit with you because you're so elegant and together. You and your Beryll company had to like show up properly. But in my life, I'm not wearing jewelry ever. Maybe my, Apple Watch, something like that. But that's me on the daily. But then if I'm getting dressed up to go somewhere special, I care. Like I want to be, I think about it and I'm into fashion and I follow it to see what's going on. And I like to be comfortable. So even if I'm going to something, obviously the way I described my daily wear is all about comfort. But even if I'm going out to something black tie or a fancy dinner, I want to be comfortable always. Yeah. So.
I think that is, I remember I hear my mom just in my head saying, you have to suffer for beauty. Mm-hmm. I think we dropped that somehow, no?
Yeah. And I learned along the way. I thought like, oh, this looks great and I'm going to be miserable all night, but I'm going to look good. And then you get to a certain point where you've done that enough, or the older you get, the wiser that you say, no, I need to be comfortable because I want to enjoy myself and I want to be able to not be self-conscious about what I'm wearing or not feel good in what I'm wearing. Yeah,
absolutely. I think this also comes, with, don't want to say it that blunt, but it comes with age, that we more and more know what we want, what we like, what feels good for us. And that's what we follow, and the less we care what other people think and say. Mm-hmm. So I think that is one of the most beautiful things about getting older.
It is. It's a cliche kind of thing, but it's 100% true, and it's lovely to understand it as it's happening. Like, oh, that's what people mean, I'm experiencing that now.
Is it also in your work that shows that the layers are becoming more and kind of like the pool of experience?
Absolutely, because the more you live, the more experiences you have to bring to the table. Like I said in the beginning, like you only have yourself. And so when you've lived more life and had more experiences, the roller coaster of it all, you have more to draw on and more that you bring just by being still and present in there. You're sort of, the life you've lived is showing up somehow,
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you do to take a break from all of this? Because I can imagine very hectic, weeks of, filming on set, long hours, intense. How do you unwind?
I do a lot of nothing.
That's the best thing to do.
I do, like, I'm not, listen, one of the things, I'm an East Coast girl, so I grew up with the hard winters, but in the summer it was the beach. And being in California, although we have real winters here now, it's not like living in Miami, like it's sunny all the time, we're always at the beach, but I live by the ocean. I love that, and I do find that relaxing to go to the beach. The way I go to the movies by myself, like something about going to the beach alone is such an unwind thing for me. And it also taps into a childhood thing because, again, and we really earned those summers and those hard winters in, Massachusetts growing up. Like, it was when summer came, it was heaven to be on the beach. And so that's one of the ways that I unwind. And yeah, I'm a quiet person, so I like to be quiet with, my two small dogs and with my kids or with a few friends or be alone, listening to books and meditate, that kind of thing. It sounds like, I don't know, boring, but I really do that. Like, I try to be quiet because I'm always going. It is a hectic life. Being a mom, working, adulting in all the ways that we all have to. And so when everything settles, I like to be still.
I can totally relate to that. I also can relate to the hard winters growing up in Austria. I think we had the same experience.
Really? Yeah. And I don't know that that's true for everyone. I think, some people need to, they have a passion. They have, they want to be riding a bike or being active or, traveling. I have a lot of friends you're one of them that, loves to travel. And I'm kind of a homebody. I do like to, I have in recent years, I always want to make a trip, at least one trip back east to see my family or somewhere special. And I've had the good fortune of being able to see some beautiful places traveling, but I don't have that like wanderlust to go and travel when I have free time. I want to be still.
I love that.
I want to be quiet.
But so many people go to retreats to learn like that, to be like that. They are like, can I just learn how to be still? And you have it naturally. So I think you should be very happy.
And you know what's funny? I remember being a little kid and I would set my alarm. I had an alarm clock, like a proper alarm clock. Remember, like with the face and the two little bells that you'd wind it up and they're like, like back in the 1800s. But I did that. It was on my little windowsill in my tiny room. And I would purposely, and I don't know where this came from, I would purposely set my clock 5 minutes early so that I could look out my window for 5 minutes. And there was just a tree outside my window. There was nothing to look at, to be still because I'm a kind of person, you know. When I'm going, I'm fluttering a lot. My mind is fluttering, and I'm doing. And I think I was always like that as a kid. And there was some just like instinctive need to be like, okay, just gonna sit and just look out this window every morning.
That's a meditation right there.
Yeah, and now we know. Now we say that, but I didn't know what that was.
No.
But I just did that.
I think that's adorable.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Yeah, it is very cute that you set your alarm. I think that's adorable.
Yeah, like if I knew I had to get going at 7, I'm going to set it a little bit earlier so that I could I just love to look out that window. And I guess I'm still that little girl doing that, sitting somewhere, just being still.
I think that is beautiful. I had this thing, my mom is telling me I would have this little chair. I was 4 years old, you know, so we were same winters, but less the Pacific Ocean or any ocean, you know, because it's Austria. Mm-hmm. So we just have mountains and lakes. But we would go once a year in the summer to Italy, you know, to the Italian Riviera. And there on the beach, we would sit, you know, or play or whatever. But I, similar to you, would have my little chair and would put it right where the ocean, you know, would break, you know, the waves would come in and would sit there for an hour. And just stare out on the ocean. So I think we had a similar
I remember sitting on the beach in the summer and just covering my legs with sand, covering them, and then pretending that I was in a commercial for razors, and that I was take a shell and shave the sand off my leg and for hours just sit there doing that.
Honestly,
so happy.
I so want to see that footage.
I know.
So
it's in my mind somewhere in the vault. But yeah, like super clear memories of that and just
I love that.
Yeah.
So is there a role or, you know, something which is in the back of your head where you say, I always wanted to play, I don't know, a serial killer, or I wanted to play...
I kind of played some crazy characters, not a serial killer, but...
Was close.
Yeah. No, I played some characters that had some dark stuff going on, and I love those. I do love those.
So that is something, because you can deep dive and just pull out you know, from the kind of like basement of your kind of like... So it fascinates me that, you know, because... And I'm not an actress at all, you know, I can't even come close to play anything, but...
You have your other strengths.
Yeah, but terrifying would be for me to play a dark character because I would so not know how to do this.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating.
Yeah,
so,
that and also something... I just love comedy, and I was able to do a very short run of a sitcom that was like a pedigree sitcom back like in... when I first came out here from New York, early 2000s, and it had a short run of 13 episodes, and I was like a recurring character on it, but that was a blast. And I love SNL my whole life, Saturday Night Live, and Veep, and those kinds of shows that are just so funny. I would love to be able to do something like that.
Okay, so comedy is... something.
Yeah, comedy's something that I had enough exposure to that I was like, this is so fun, this would be amazing, and then it never really came my way again. Everything else was drama, but I do love to find the humor even wherever there's a lot of humor in our scripts of Yellowstone. There's humor in everything, and to find find the places where there's humor, I love to bring that to a
Forward.
scene. Yeah.
I love that. I never, this is something I don't know about you. I love that. I want to see more of that, obviously. So is there currently, something in this industry of, movies and TV shows where you say this is something beside the amazing, show you are on, where you say that is kind of like, outstanding. I just saw this, or this is really something, it's kind of like open a new mindset for me. Where do you also think this whole industry is going?
I don't know the answer to that question. God damn, if I knew. I don't know. I feel like that was a two-part question. If you were asking me,
it is a two-part question.
So if there's something lately that I've been watching,
so let me rephrase it. Yeah. So is there anything lately you have been watching where you were like smitten by or taken by or saying, "Wow, this is really interesting," or "This really kind of like fascinated me"?
Yes, I don't know about fascinated, but I just fell in love with Succession, and it took me a while. Like, people were loving on that show for a while before I got on the train, and then I rewatched it. The way that I know people rewatch Yellowstone, because they love it so much, and I get that, and that spoke to me. That the humor, back to the humor in that, in the writing and the darkness of the characters and how conflicted they were, and just the timing of it, the New York City aspect of it, because I just love New York. I love that show.
I watched that show and I completely agree with you. Each character, unexpectedly at one point opens up such a depth in the kind of like really darkness, where you're like, wow, that I never would have expected.
Yeah.
So that is kind of,
and that show just did a great job of being, so, real in the characters and that world, whatever that world is, that I know it's, it's a real thing, that kind of wealth and those families, but the way that they wove the humor into all of that, oh God, it had me laughing out loud sometimes. Like, it was, it was a comedy in some ways, but it wasn't. It was drama. But I love that show.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Also to show, that wealth can be so tragic and so dark and so not pleasant, because that's not the usual perception we have. Yeah, but in that show, I think, at least when I watched it, I was like, okay, if this means that amount of money means that, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm happy not to live in a family like that. So I think this has a lot of relevance.
Yeah, and the ridiculousness of it too, like the way that they would behave, and it was just so well done. Because I'm thinking back on it, and it's such a serious, there's so much darkness in it, but it wouldn't, if it was just that and it didn't have the absurdity of the characters too, how selfish they all were, and how they made fun of each other, and just the way it was written with the humor. Loved it.
Really good.
Yeah.
I know that you also have a talent behind the camera.
Yeah.
I saw your photography work, and I think it's very, very beautiful and brilliant.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about it? Because it has a very specific angle.
Yeah, it does. And I realized that my love of taking photos, that also goes back to like a childhood memory of my grandmother. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents on my father's side. They helped raise me. And she had a drawer in her living room that had just loose pictures in it, black and white pictures. And I was fascinated. It was all family pictures, photos. And I would look through those. And she had one book there was a hurricane in like the 1930s or something. And she had cut out newspaper articles of what happened. And I was fascinated with that. And that stuck with me. So before the days of Instagram and all of this, I was a photo album keeper. And that's where that comes from. And now I've never had a fancy real camera. I do everything with my iPhone. I don't know much about my iPhone. I just, if something speaks to me, a moment between people, or I happen to catch the light or something and I'll snap a picture, and sometimes I just get lucky. And I have a few photos that you've seen on my walls that are of moments that I've taken of, like, I think there's one on Santa Monica Boulevard of just the way the sun was setting, and one on a boat in Venice that I have in a frame. And I didn't do anything to those. I didn't retouch them or anything. It just was captured motion in a moment. And then I know what you're talking about. The moments between people, I'm always taking pictures of my family or my friends from behind them. So I realized that I had all these photos of kind of in the rear view, or, seeing people walking away from behind. And I did a series, I framed them on one of my walls in my home. Because I think that when you see people in motion from behind, it still tells a story, even though you're not seeing their face fully, their body language, the way they're standing. It's so beautiful to me.
It also feels to me when I looked at them that you are kind of like a spectator, but they don't know that you were there. So you capture something where nobody's posing or nobody is doing anything for the picture. You're just catching the moment.
That's right.
And I love that. So I'm a big fan of this work.
Yeah. I mean, listen, taking candid pictures is... Whenever I see a candid picture of someone, like if I see a friend who like posted a candid picture, I'll grab it, like screenshot it and frame it for them and send it to them as a gift or something, because a candid picture from the front is, it's rare because everybody's posing and everybody's fixing and doing. But when it's just straight up the back of people, it's the motion of the back of them, the way they are, because nobody cares about what's going on in the back, from behind. So for me, it's just this thing about living life, like visually seeing it happening from behind. They don't know, and there's something beautiful about the walking forward or the walking away or whatever they're observing. You're observing them, observing it from behind. From behind. I don't know where that came from.
No, it's very beautiful. And, when I saw these pictures, with, your picture also your family, your kids in there, how difficult was it for you? I know your kids are a little bit older now, not kind of like toddlers, but
not at all. Not even a tip. I've got my one no longer. He just left the teens, just turned 20. Wow. So I've got one teenager left. Yeah,
I know.
Growing up.
I know. I have. Yeah, mine is turning a teen, so 20 now this year. So my little one. Yeah. So I know what you're talking about. So how difficult or easy was it for you to juggle a huge career and, being a mom of 2 kids, like not easy. Yeah.
No, not easy. And the truth is, when my kids were, well, it's funny because I want to say that, my career definitely took a backseat to my kids growing up. I never stopped working. I was on TV shows when I was pregnant with both of them at one point. Wow. And then with my second one, I was bringing the other one with me on one show. But mostly I wanted to be a home base. And at that time it was New York City. And most of the work was in LA in those early years when my kids were young. And I really stopped throwing my hat in the ring for roles, so that I could be a home base for my family. Yeah, when my kids were growing up, we're switching hats as moms all the time. We're being a teacher, we're being a driver, we're being a cook, we're being because what we do as parents falls under, we're doing all of those roles, all of those jobs. And so my mom hat my working hat was kind of like, on the shelf when I was wearing all my mom hats for those really formative time. And I remember when my now 16-year-old went to kindergarten, I said to my manager, who's been with me, we've been together for over 20 years. I was in New York at the time, and I said, okay, the reason why my career took a back seat was because I wanted to be a home base. I couldn't go back to LA for work. I couldn't go out of town because I would have to uproot everything. And that just I wasn't able to do that.
Didn't feel right.
Yeah, it didn't feel right, and it just did. It didn't feel right for a lot of reasons. And so I said, okay, when my son went to kindergarten, he was really in school full time. I said, okay, I can take a job out of town. And she was like, thank God, because I was limited in what I could do. Because then work started to be not just in LA, it started to be everywhere. So I said, okay. And I went out for pilot season and I got a job in Chicago immediately. Like the first thing that I went, I was like, okay. So I was like, oh, now I've got to, then I had to bring my kids to Chicago for part of the summer. And I had, I had help with babysitters and, I had support systems in that way. But yeah, that was a tricky time, like feeling like, wow, I'm okay. I've got 2 young kids still. Kindergarten, and I'm traveling from New York to Chicago, and I'm working, and you just kind of do it. It's like I don't want to stop acting, so at some point I have to figure out how to be a mom and work, and you can't work in just one place as an actor. And now work is everywhere. Everywhere. You have to be willing to go wherever.
Is there any advice you would give other, women out there who are doing the same thing, juggling career and kids? Is it don't be so hard on yourself?
Always don't be so hard on yourself.
I think that's my mantra.
Yeah.
Because I think that is what you try to do. You try to be perfect in everything. And, guilty when you are at home, kind of like with the kids that work maybe, takes a hit or vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. Work. So, my career definitely took, I don't want to say it took a hit, but it took a back seat but who knew that now my kids are older and I am the age that I am and I would be on a show at this point in my life. Like I remember being in my 20s and my 30s and thinking whatever I was working on that was it. This was the thing. This is the peak. And no, it's not. There is no timeline. And the great things can happen much later and you have no idea they're even coming. So my career didn't take a hit. And I was following what felt right for me, following that gut. It felt like I needed to be present and a home base for my kids at that time. And it took a back seat in that moment, but it set up for where I am now. That sort of, and I can say that now, talking with you, thinking about it, saying it out loud, it really was that way. And that's cool. Yeah. So I would say, don't be so hard on yourself and know that you don't know what's coming. You have to be, trust that sometimes the best really is yet to come.
I think that's very inspirational,
Yeah.
Because it also
that's
shows
an oldie but a goodie, but it's if you believe in that or you just kind of have a knowing about it, something around the corner. So do what you believe is right. And keep your foot in the door with what you love and know that you just can't do everything full throttle all the time in every category. You can't. You have to pump the brakes in one area so that there can be space in another area and it will flow.
That's beautiful and well said. Being an actress comes also with, being well known. And having, not the privilege that you can maybe go to the supermarket in the morning, unwashed hair, and people, will recognize you and you might not feel that great about it. So how do you...
So funny that you say that.
But how do you deal with, the fame of which comes with what you do? It's part of your job.
Well, I think it's lovely when people, have kind things to say about what you do. And I have people that I fan over, and if I see them, I'd be like, I think it's a really special part of what you do as an actor because everyone's doing wonderful things in their job, but they don't get stopped randomly by unknown say you're doing a great job as a teacher or a doctor or things because what we do is out there. So it's a privilege that you get a little pat on the back and an acknowledgement from someone that says, I love what you do, or I love your show, or I love your work, or I think it's a gift. again, back to me wearing a baseball hat, I don't always get recognized because I don't really look like the governor on TV when I'm walking around in my regular life. But people do still somehow, I get a kick out of it. I'm like, how did you recognize me? Because I'm small and people say, oh, you look so much taller on TV. And I have a hat on or a big jacket on just because that's, like I said, I'm very utilitarian in the way that I dress. And my other girlfriends make fun of me, like the way that they're like, well, don't wear such baggy clothes. So it surprises me if someone recognizes me, but it doesn't happen a ton. But when it does happen, I'm always, I'm always pleasantly surprised. And I always think that it's a nice little extra something that comes with doing what I love for a living.
That's beautiful and wonderful to hear. Was it at any time a problem for your kids that you are kind of a public figure, that you are out there and that, kind of like, everybody can see you on TV? And was it at any, or were they always just proud of you?
Yeah, it was never a problem that I know of. And I think that they think it's cool. But they don't really tell me that they think it's cool. My oldest son, my son, years. Yeah, my recent, I want to say my 19-year-old, but he just turned 20, just wanted to start recently watching Yellowstone. So I rewatched it with him before I went back to work this last time. And it was really fun getting to watch it through his eyes. He loves it. And it was really cute to see him so into it because he had friends that he was like, my friends are watching it, but they weren't like, yeah, you're on TV, I want to see it. Or I don't show them things, watch mom, look at me here. We just don't talk about it. So I really don't think that they're fazed by it, to be honest. And maybe I would have to, I don't know what they're in their little social circles, but when it comes up, if it comes up, how it makes them feel, but they would tell me.
No,
if there was an issue,
yeah,
I think they're good.
Absolutely would think so. So you being, and I know you that well, that I can say that, being such an amazing, devoted mom, is there anything what you would tell other moms? These are the pillars I raised my kids on. What are the most important values for you and what you wanted to give to your kids?
I mean, there's so many. The kindness to each other is always a big one, and working, finding something that you love. If you're passionate about something and you enjoy doing something, to follow that. For me to see that when they're young, for me to see that and then sort of gravitate towards what they love to do. And then as they get older, they have their own decision making, but sometimes I think kids go through phases where they can get lost in their peers and they might lose their thing that they loved or that was special for them, and so I try to gently steer them back to that, what they love to do, because that's where my experience as a person has been. From a young age, having a thing, following it, and it brought me happiness, and it brought me a way of living, and and earning a living, all of that stuff. And so that's what I feel like I try to show them, and to take pictures and look at photo albums, because they're now this Instagram world. It's like, it's tricky, especially for kids. But I kind of hate that you have to be careful about taking photos too. So it's that too much of it isn't good, but I like to share photos still. And I don't do photo albums anymore. I have them on my phone. I share certain things on Instagram, some public, some privately. I share photos with people, and I think that the act of doing that, I like for my kids to continue to do that. I show them all
like
pictures.
You grew up at your grandmother's house, right, opening the drawer and seeing.
I'm always showing them pictures of that stuff. I have those pictures, all those old pictures that were my grandmother's.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and then my mom made me an album of pictures of me when I was little, and so I've got a lot of them, and I love to show that to them.
Treasures,
yeah. So I think like those are the kinds of things. And I think that they see you living a certain life. Like they see that I'm an animal lover, and that I have always been an athletic person. I like to work out, but that's another thing I grew up with. I was very sporty and athletic. Mm-hmm. And so I think they see you living your life, doing the things that you love, that make you content and healthy. And so by doing, they learn. Yeah, I hope so.
So you're talking about being a role model, and I think it's beautiful that you can do this for your own kids. I think it's also, being, somebody so successful, having, done that for many years, you could be a role model for young actresses or actors, kind of like approaching the same path of acting. Mm-hmm. What would you say are the ingredients, what you would give, like your nuggets of wisdom to a young actress who sits across from you? Like mm-hmm. Imagine I'm the young actress mm-hmm. and says, I love performing. I want to do this. Give me what could you give me on my way?
Wow. I think that you in this business especially, don't let your joy, the joy that you have, if you really love performing and you want to do something, don't let anyone or anything take that spark away. Just keep going, because it's not an easy path to try to do it professionally. And there's more no's than yeses. So learn not to take it personally as much as you can, all of the rejection, because there's tons of it. And keep working on getting better and stay focused on the joy of it. And that's the best advice I could give.
No, I think it's a very good one.
Yeah, stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah. Okay. You talked about joy, and I think it's so important to have joy in every day what you are doing, because then it doesn't feel like work. Mm-hmm. It feels, of course you have the work ethic and you put the time in and the effort, but it's still, you go home every day and you are more full than you entered the day. What other things in life are here for you, or you identified of bringing you joy?
Music in my car, singing. Like if I could be something else besides an actor, if I would be another version of a performer, right? Because I love just performing. And so when I was little, it was singing and dancing and make me the most amazing I'm a musical theater geek. Like make me a Broadway musical star. Like, please, I would love that. And so for me, it's singing, like singing in the car to my musicals, to Taylor Swift, whatever artist that I like to sing along to brings me joy. That feeling. That is amazing. And it really does, that vibrates in your body. My being with my dogs and sharing memes with friends and laughing. The idea that we can be apart from each other and still connected by sharing funny little things in this quick way, I just don't take that for granted. I think it's really super cool. As much as there's so many things about technology that I hate, that are troublesome and worrisome, especially with kids, there are great things that come with it that I value. And I love that my family and friends a lot of them are, on the East Coast, and even friends that are here in busy lives, that you can send a funny meme.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. And that brings me joy. So
I can understand it.
Yeah.
I have this latest thing with my son that we send each other really Austrian dialect memes, which I think half of it he doesn't even understand. But we love to share those, and it's just a thing me and him have.
Yes, you know what I mean? It's unique to your thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or me and my daughter do a specific thing. And I agree with you. If you use it wisely, or there are a lot of good things about it. And think about the pandemic. If we wouldn't have had, social media or other ways to communicate than with technology, can you imagine our kids would have missed school completely, couldn't even talk to their friends?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely great things about it. And so that quick way that you can stay in touch, because I mean, I remember being, you know, when I was a kid, like going to camp and meeting a friend or staying in touch with I grew up with a girlfriend around the corner from where I lived. And since we were 3 years old, she's still like my sister. And we literally grew up together. She's back east in my hometown, but we're in touch all the time. And we were in college and we would write letters to each other. That's how we stayed in touch. Yeah. We didn't even have cell phones, you know. It was later. So the fact that you can be in touch so quickly with people that you love and share in this unique kind of way. And like you said, I love that because it's so true. There are funny little memes or whatever that you can that are just for certain people in your life. You know, this friend is going to get this one, and this friend is going to get that one. And I have 3 younger brothers. They're younger than me, but they're in their 30s. And we're on a group thread together, and we have our own things going back and forth. And that, I love that. I love sharing with the people that I love that way. And it's great for that.
Is there anything personally your favorite piece of clothing?
Well, I talked about my boots that I like to wear and my baggy clothes. And I'm not a very new piece of clothing that I purchased from you or gifted. I don't know. The cashmere sweater, the Beryll cashmere sweater, everywhere I go.
It's the one with the hood.
With the hood. I wore it on my Instagram because I loved it so much. And it's only just started to get warm in LA recently. It's been very chilly. I wear that almost every day, and everywhere I go, everywhere, in an airport, at a Trader Joe's, when I'm working in Montana, where did you get that sweater? That looks so cozy. Everywhere. And I've stopped and said, this is my friend. She makes this, and they'll say, what? In a Trader Joe's, stopped and showed your Instagram, and they looked it up. I honestly, and I
have to say, it looks so good on you.
Thank you. Well, it's just gorgeous clothes, and it fits my comfortable, relaxed, but there's the specialness because it's got the hood and it's got the pockets, and the color of it and the touch of it is ridiculous. And people always stop. So what you're saying, you know, if people stop and say, how do you feel when you like your work? I want you to know that people stop and say, if I think they're going to say, oh, you know, I like you on Yellowstone, or no, they say, I love your sweater. So you're getting the pat on the back because they say, oh my God, I love that sweater. And I'm very proud to say that this is my girlfriend's clothing line. And
so sweet of you.
Yes,
thank you so much. You made me blush. You mentioned, that you like to take pictures of the people you love. You mentioned, close people to your heart over a long span of, life. Mm-hmm. So knowing you a little bit, I know how important friendships are for you and how, rock solid you are in a friendship. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Where is this coming from, and is this true?
Yeah, is this true? Thank you. That I don't have a ton of friends. I'm not, a super extrovert type of person with lots of acquaintances, but I do have, my little tribe of friends. And when you're my friend, you're stuck with me, kind of. I really have few people that I'm very connected to. And when I recognize that whatever it is, and they're all different, and sometimes I can know them over a long period of time, and the recognition of, oh, that's going to be a person that's always going to be around doesn't come until later, or sometimes it comes right out of the gate. But when I recognize that, I value that person, and I do, make effort to get to know them more, to be with them, to stay connected to them. I think that my friendships in my life, throughout my life, but especially, maybe in the last 10 years or 7 years, I don't know. That's been part of the maturing, is realizing the value, especially just as a woman, like just how great girlfriends are. Just having a great girlfriend and appreciating women and what we go through, and sort of like just how we rally around each other. And I hold on tight, and I try to be a really good friend to my friends. And I really appreciate their friendship. So
no, I can see on the other end that feels exactly like you were describing it. What you just said, resonates so much. You're talking about your intuition. You're talking about you feel sometimes right away this person will be in your life. You also said before, you intuitively put, the career on a back seat when you put your kids in the driver's seat or, next to you. So it seems like you are doing very well with your intuition and you are trusting yourself a lot.
It's my intuition, and I also think it was my life experiences. The way my mom was not so present for me, it was really important for me to be present for my kids. So it was in a feeling, but it was based on a belief that I had that being a mom is I'm going to do a great job at this. It was like I knew I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to be a mom. And I'm not going to be able to maybe do those things you're always a mom no matter what, but some things may have to, can't be mom 100% right now, but
something got to give.
Yeah, something's got to give a little bit. But I think even when you're off going to work and doing something that you love, you're not hands-on being, you're not wiping your kid's nose or in that moment, but you're still doing, you're honoring yourself, and your kids are seeing you do the thing that you love, and that's teaching them. So you're still always momming it, no matter, even if you're not hands-on in the moment. But yeah, that's where it came from. It wasn't just like an intuition solely. It was a decision that was based on my experiences that I had on having a mom that wasn't very present, and having a grandmother that was very present, and recognizing, oh, I like this feeling of having a mom. And so I wanted to be that.
The value
your how value. Valuable it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, yes, my career took a back seat so that I could do that for reasons other than just, a feeling that I had. Yeah.
We talked also about that your career, always the next project was even the better one and the better one and the better one. And you are, we talked about, feeling, oh, now it's the peak. Mm-hmm. So what is your next dream?
Yeah.
What is the next peak on your summit?
I don't know. I mean, I really do believe now in a way that I didn't when I was in my 30s and maybe was considered in my prime, or that, and feeling very panicked at that age that, oh, it's over now, that's it. I'm having kids, and this great show that I was on went away, and how am I going to get a job? And I haven't had a job, and it's been a year, and feeling like it's over, and feeling really panicked more at a younger age, thinking that this is it. And now, 20 something years later, I don't have that anymore. And I really do. There's always, it's the nature of an actor to say, where is my next job coming from? It's a nature of the beast. So you have that, but how I manage it is so much different than I did when I was younger. I'm much more like, oh, it's going to be fine. Because I look back and I have the experience of seeing that it was fine. It's like a movie in your mind. I go back and I see, I was worried in this moment, but look what came after it. So I take that life experience, and now I know. I can see I'm not panicked the way I was in my 30s, because I look back and I see all the great things that came after that. So I can sit in a much more peaceful place and go, okay, of course there's going to be great things coming.
Well, I can't wait to see what's coming next. Thank you so much for your time and, your beautiful soul showing up here today. And
thank you. It was my pleasure, and it's my pleasure, and I'm really grateful that you are a friend of mine and that you had me here to have this chat.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and I think I got a little bit more insight about who you are. So that was very interesting, and continue the conversation hopefully another time.
Yes, always. We will.
Thank you.
Thank you.